Well, I think the selling sunset realtors of the world, like that glamorous, like,
Yeah.
these, multi, the $50 million listings of the world.
Like you could have been if you stayed in Pacific Beach.
I maybe could have been on that show, but no, it's the reality is that you're working with everyday average Joe people as realtor. The majority of realtors are not working with just, the elite 1%ers.
It's not Hollywood glamour,
It's not. And it's not a TV show. You're working with real people that are going through divorce. I mean, I was just on a Zoom meeting with a group of ladies, and this one woman, and she's an amazing realtor out of San Diego. So shout out to my girl. She knows who she is. But I'm not going to talk about this. I want to be able to. I'm not going to name her because of the situation. She works with a lot of clients that actually are in the attorney real estate. She's dealing with a lot of people that are getting divorced. So it's a lot of divorce and family law
That's
attorneys.
Quite a niche.
Yes, it is. And she says you don't realize, like, for one, our system's broken in that sense because it's so hard to be able to get anyone to get power of attorney and that kind of thing to be able to get decisions made when she's working with someone who's...
You have to know how to navigate.
Yes, when you've got people that are divorced, or you've got someone's incarcerated, and then another one is trying to sell the house because they're in foreclosure or losing everything because the one incarcerated was the one that was the breadwinner. Things like that.
A lot of expertise necessary there.
Yeah, and so when we really start to break down the real estate space, we are working with everyday people.
Yeah.
We are working with people that are moving because of a job relocation. That's several of our listings right now. We're working with people that are getting divorced, with people that they've had a baby and they're, so just
people that have passed away, estates and things like that.
Yeah. So just to know
and investors. Investors, that's a whole
other thing. Yeah, niche. It is. And that's something that you're amazing at. I learn things from you every day in regards to the investment space. It's really, that's a niche of its own, but to know how, I think one of the coolest stories with you is you met a gentleman, and we will say no names. We will let him live in the sky. He's doing very well for himself. And when he came to you, he said, I've got a chunk of money. I've got some ideas, but I don't know how to execute. How do I become wealthy in real estate? And you helped him just invest and grow his portfolio, where I think he said at the time, I just want to have $50,000 of like passive income coming in from all of my different doors or something like that. And he's getting it, he's got that. So we're happy for him. And that really was because of what the tools and all of the different advice that you gave him. And so
that particular situation had some real challenges up front because I think I know the situation you're talking about. And that actually sourced from a very sticky situation where you're talking a failed business and a foreclosure involved, and then wanting to relocate and first of all find a place to live, relocate the family.
Yeah.
And that evolved into a relationship where, fortunately for that family, they were very successful at what they were doing, very sharp people, and started to say, okay, how do we build generational wealth? So then that's where we were able to set a plan in motion. And it's been, 15 years now, something like that. And
but all of that to the point
really well.
Of that also is a whole other piece of real estate. And that's actually, when we started talking about planning for the year, that's actually something that we're very passionate about and focusing on this year, is helping families create generational wealth. Because one of the topics we're going to get into is California, and California's got some issues.
Let's do it.
Well, first, before we get there, but we will talk about how California might have some issues, but that all the more reason why, if you own real estate in California, you really will set your family up. And so how do you just starting by getting a piece of land, like whatever you can get your hands on to say that you own it on this soil, is going to be really, really important here in the coming years.
Right.
But before we jump into that, I want to talk about also, how about a real estate win from this last year? I've got a particular client in mind that I think that her story is just, it speaks to who we are, and I'm just grateful with how she even came about.
Tell it.
Well, so be thinking about what your real estate,
Okay.
win for 2025 might be. But mine is a woman that came to me. I started a mastermind group. We're called the Boss Babes. So we're a mastermind group that gets together.
That's a little assertive, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I'm the boss. And so I started thinking, if I'm a boss, I know there's other bosses out there. Let me get these Boss Babes together. Okay. But these women are all over the United States, and they come from different backgrounds. They're all top producing agents, full-time agents. And I met them through different avenues, like our family reunion, which is the convention that we go to, and
which is coming up
this next month. Yep. Mm-hmm. And in starting that group, I met an agent who referred over this client to me. So this agent's up in Sacramento. She's amazing, got a great team. But she said, "Hey, can you handle this client in Santa Rosa?" And this property was on the market earlier in the year and sat on the market with no success with another agent. And then she came to me and she was distraught, and she said, "Hey, you got your referral from a friend of mine, and I just don't know how I need to get this house sold." Well, this house wasn't so much a house as it was 5 acres. On top of it being a manufactured home, it was put on a permanent foundation, but it had been completely remodeled top to bottom with no permits. When I'm saying like no permits for like roof, structure, anything. Nothing was
could be challenging.
So it could be challenging. Plus, it was on beautiful 5 acres. It had a dual zoning of agricultural and residential. That someone could have put a custom home on this property, and it would have been amazing.
Didn't they have cows on there at one point?
At one point, they had cows, but it had a well and a leach field, and the septic. It had a PG&E pole. But so it was a really unique property. It had a 3-car garage. It had a big, giant, 1,000 square foot workshop and RV hookups. I mean, like this was a really, really cool property. Yeah. But then when you start to dig into it, in Santa Rosa, there's a salamander that is actually a protected species there because it's endangered. And if you find one of those little suckers on your property, then you can't build, you can't do anything really. It's very
held hostage by a salamander.
By one little salamander, So that was actually
he has as much power as the gecko guy.
yeah. Geico.
Gecko, whatever.